Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. We have a brand new preview for Marvel Eternals movie. They dropped a brand new teaser. They're almost done filming the movie, so we'll break it down. There was also an Eternals trailer that was shown off at CCXP last month, so I'll also do a breakdown of that footage after I talk about this brand new preview. There's a really cool Easter egg in some of the Eternals characters that ties back to a really big Guardians of the Galaxy scene, and there's another really cool Doctor Strange Easter egg, so you can kind of see how they're using the Eternals to provide this common point of origin for a lot of the design language and a lot of the way people's powers work in present day. So if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the Marvel videos. There's going to be a bunch of crazy stuff coming up really soon. We have the Super Bowl next week too, and a bunch of Super Bowl trailers. This really cool teaser just shows off Richard Madden's Icarus character in his full celestial armor with his powers activated. The design of his armor is a little bit more like the ornate blend of Iron Man's more recent nano armors in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, and the Asgardian armors and design language that you see with people like Thor and Odin. I'll talk about the Doctor Strange Easter egg in a second too, because it involves some of the way their powers work. This also ties a little bit to the powers that people get from Infinity Stones. But the Eternals were made by the Celestials, the second most ancient beings in the universe, so their designs are based on Celestial design language. If you see any kind of similarities in Thor Asgardian design language, or their armor, their weapons, buildings, and a lot of that stuff on Earth, it's because everyone is inspired by the Celestials in some way. They have this ancient hand in shaping the way the universe developed, which I'll talk about in a second. The really cool Easter egg here you notice here, especially for the Infinity Stones, is the way Richard Madden's powers work with that light bloom of energy you see growing from his fist. It's also very similar to the look of Captain Marvel's Infinity Stone-based energy when she's using her powers. Most of his powers through the Eternals comics have been pretty consistent. The movie itself is based on Neil Gaiman's Eternals run from 2006. There was a miniseries. I'll explain a little bit of that too in a second. But there's a connection here in his powers. Captain Marvel got her powers from the Space Stone and the Tesseract. The Eternals get their different powers from the Celestials, imbuing them with the same type of cosmic energy that the Infinity Stones contain. Remember that Guardians of the Galaxy flashback with Eson the Searcher. Using the Power Stone, Eternity, the living embodiment of the multiverse, creates Celestials to go out and garden the planets to try and create life. Every couple million years, the Celestial host comes to see how their experiment has borne fruit or how it's failed. If they consider it a failure, they wipe the slate clean and destroy all life on the planet and start over again with a new experiment somewhere else. Remember during Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Ego the Living Planet is a Celestial. Peter Quill is half Celestial. He's actually doing an extreme version of that because he's trying to terraform the entire universe to become part of him. So whatever planet this used to be, this is Eson the Searcher coming to say that this experiment did not pan out, so we're just going to kill all life on this planet and start over again somewhere else. So it's no coincidence that those same Celestials that came to planet Earth as part of the Celestial host used Infinity Stone energy to create the Eternals. So that's why a lot of their powers will look similar to the powers you've seen from recent people in the last couple of Avengers movies. Remember the Guardians of the Galaxy Infinity Stone scene where the Collector is showing them the flashback of the 6 ancient people trying to share the power of the Infinity Stones before being destroyed by that power? Those people were Eternals, not the Eternals we're going to see during the movie because obviously they're still alive and those Eternals were wiped out by the power of the stones. But when the Celestials created the Eternals, there were a lot of different groups of them living all over the Earth thousands and thousands of years ago. After a couple civil wars, some of them decided to leave, led by Thanos' father, Alars, as named by Red Skull, Thanos, son of Alars, to colonize the planet Titan. Millennia later, Thanos was born, tiny baby Thanos. This was actually concept art created for a young version of Thanos that we're going to show you in a flashback that wound up being an Avengers Infinity War deleted scene. It never made it past the concept stage, but this is basically what he would have looked like when he was much, much younger. So don't expect to see tiny baby Thanos during the first Eternals movie, but if it goes well and they do a trilogy, maybe we'll see tiny baby Thanos in one of those sequels. One of the crazier things about the Eternals, I don't know if they're going to include this in the movie, but it's a big part of the Neil Gaiman run that the movie is based on, is that when they die, they actually reincarnate. There's a special Celestial 3D printer that prints them a new body and just transplants their consciousness into it. So if something was wrong with them before they died, it gets fixed because it just reprints them from their original genome. So a lot of you have asked, how come the Eternals didn't help out during Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame? Like I said, as they're basing this on the Neil Gaiman run, they've had their minds wiped, so they didn't know that they were Eternals. They just thought that they were normal people going about their days. The whole idea with the Eternals movie is that something happens, they realize how everything has changed after Avengers Endgame, and that's what brings them out of hiding. The Deviants are the villains of the movie, they're also the villains of the comic book. They try to take advantage of some of the celestial technology the Eternals then try to move to help humanity out. But here's a breakdown of the Eternals trailer from CCXP last month that Kevin Feige brought and showed off. So Druig opens these doors of what looked like a training camp. He finds part of the Eternals reunited with Richard Madden's Icarus character at the front. He stares at them and says, "Welcome, feel at home." Then there are a bunch of different scenes of the different main characters from the Eternals being shown all over planet Earth being worshipped by people as gods. Then there's a new scene where they all appear together in their special celestial uniforms led by Salma Hayek's Ajax character. There's a bunch of quick cuts of them all gathering around a bonfire. Angelina Jolie's Thena character appears by the fire. Salma Hayek's Ajax character riding on horseback. They keep jumping to different scenes all over the planet that all feature Gemma Chan's Cersei character, one of the main characters of the movie. Then when they all come together on the beach around that bonfire, Gemma Chan's Cersei character clasps Liam McHugh's Sprite character in what appears to be this really special embrace. The trailer then ends with Salma Hayek's Ajax character saying, "The people have changed us, we need to protect them." There's a little bit of footage from present day with Kumail Nanjiani's Kingo character in what seems like a Bollywood sequence, like he becomes a Bollywood star, not knowing that he's secretly an Eternal like the other characters. But for the most part, the early trailer that they showed off is just meant to show you the history of their characters across planet Earth, how they influenced a lot of cultures, how they used to be worshipped as gods. This movie and this franchise, however many sequels they do, will sort of be the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've gotten a little bit of that peppered throughout the different films, but this will just be the deep dive into that and show you how everything is connected. The Asgardians, people on planet Earth, the Infinity Stones, everything. And speaking of everything's connected, if you look at Salma Hayek's Ajax character in this preview here, just this early teaser of what her costume and her powers are going to look like, notice down here at her hand, it looks like she's using a glyph like the magic glyphs that Doctor Strange uses when he's actually casting spells. So just another detail sort of tying what they were doing thousands of years ago to what's happening in present day with the current Marvel Cinematic Universe characters. I know I haven't talked much about Kit Harington's Black Knight character, but they haven't included him in a lot of the trailer footage yet. He's one of the main characters of the film, so he is really important to the story. But a lot of the mythology for his character actually comes from the Avengers comics, where he and Cersei had a romance. They crossed over with the Avengers a whole bunch. The reports about his character during the movie is that he does have the Black Knight origin story. He has the special ebony blade, his special armor that comes from his family. But within the context of the movie in present day, post-Avengers Endgame, he's an archaeologist who just happens to discover the tomb of the space gods, which is something from the Jack Kirby original Eternals comics. As the name implies, the Tomb of the Space Gods is just a special celestial base that they left behind when they created the Eternals that could wipe out humanity. So that's sort of where he starts crossing over with the Eternals characters, and then eventually a romance develops with the Cersei character, like he has in the comics. It sounds like they have big plans for his character to join a future Avengers roster and whatever the next Avengers movie winds up being.
We just heard Kit Harington added, right?
Yes, he's a really amazing actor. And this part came up in the Eternals film that we're doing. We were so happy when he agreed to join. And it is a part that could perhaps grow into something else in the future.
I could totally see them pitching Kit Harington on doing this weird Eternals movie, which could be totally cool, but also on the idea that eventually he would get to join a future Avengers movie. You also notice that Kit Harington and Richard Madden are in a project together again. They haven't been together on screen in, say, like 10 years. Robb Stark and Jon Snow really didn't share any scenes after Game of Thrones Season 1, Episode 2.
My mother?
She was very kind.
Oh, good. Next time I see you, you'll be all in black.
It was always my colour.
Farewell, Snow.
And you, Stark.
So it'll be really cool to see them on screen together again. I can only imagine what the memes are going to be like. Because the Black Widow movie is being released in May, I'm expecting that's when they'll release the first Eternals teaser trailer, but if I get any news about that, I'll include it in a future video, and if we have any big surprise footage drops. We have that giant Infinity Saga box set giveaway that's still going on. There was a bunch of other stuff that just happened. I'll try to make videos for all that stuff as quickly as possible. Everyone click here for my brand new Avengers Evil Captain America teaser breakdown, and click here to learn all about Doctor Strange 2 and X-Men stuff going on around Scarlet Witch. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.